So today I took my daughter to Toys R Us and I picked up this thing called True Legends Mythical Warriors. There's apparently several True Legends things. They have cowboys and knights and things like this. And I just thought it was cool. These are the large scale, like the old army men you used to get as a kid. But there was just something about it I thought was neat. It's $10.99 for 72 pieces. And it also has some terrain in there, at least from looking inside. I could see a tree and some other things. So I thought it was worth checking out. And while these are too big to be used with something like Warhammer or HeroScape, I've noticed that some people are playing with this large scale for Song of Blades and Heroes. So I thought it might be fun to pick up some of these and see if there was anything worth using either for terrain or for a painting project. So let's see what is in here. Alright. First thing we have is a bridge. And that's definitely usable. And looks like it came with a couple of side rails. Now the bridge itself is pretty decent, but I think I will want to paint these sides gray so that the detail shows up. So yeah, one very usable piece of terrain. Alright, the trees, of course they're, very plasticky, glossy. They're not going to be as nice as what you might get from Woodland Scenics, but I think with the right touch of some flat paint, I think I can make them look pretty good too. I mean, there appears to be two of those. So already I've got some stuff that I'll be able to use on my battlefield, even if the miniatures aren't workable. Looks like a column. I have no idea what the holes in the sides are for. I'll have to figure that out. And we've got this thing. I don't know what that is, except I guess they stand on it. Maybe. Alright, maybe these things go in it. Kind of weird, but oops. Especially if you make it fall apart. Might be something we can use. Alright, very nice old rock wall. Now this will paint up nicely and quite easily. You just put flat black over it and then dry brush on a couple layers of gray, and that's going to look very good. That's a nice piece right there. Oh, and we've got a couple more. And these are pretty heavy too. Heck, this is almost, well, it's not worth $10.99, but this is pretty decent wargaming terrain right here, these three walls. I'm impressed with those. Oh, and there's a fourth. And we've got these shields that will need to be really decorated up if we want to use them. Oh, I think they go in the column. Alright. Alright, well I will try painting of the shields, but if they look too cartoonish, I'll just brush up the columns, fill those holes with some green stuff, and leave them the way they are. Here's a second column. So, just for the battlefield terrain, we got several usable pieces. I really like the four walls. Those can be made to look very realistic. And they're small enough that it looks like you could use them with Warhammer with the 28mm scale. Two columns have good potential. The trees will be okay, not great. And I like the bridge. The bridge is going to be pretty good too. So, heck, I think that's $10 worth of terrain. So now let's check out the actual miniatures. We have a dragon. He's not the best I've ever seen, not the worst. We'll see, but I'll try painting him up. Won't be a priority though. There's something little kid looking about him. He's not a very active pose, and maybe it's the little wimpy wings that obviously would never lift him off the ground. So he's not a top priority. So now let's look at the actual miniatures. Oh wait, I missed some terrain. Got a couple of boulders. They will definitely need to be painted over if they're going to be usable. Those are decent, but walls are the best piece so far. Alright, now of the miniatures, we have this guy. I don't know if he's meant to be a dwarf, perhaps. He doesn't really look all that stocky, but maybe. You know, not bad. We have a sorceress. This guy looks to me like an elven archer. Yeah, looks like they're going for a Legolas vibe there. I'm already seeing a lot of duplication. It looks like there aren't a huge variety of sculpts in here. Alright, this appears to be an orc guy. I mostly think that because the image on the packaging makes it pretty clear that there's supposed to be orcs in here, so we're going to assume he's the orc. Alright, lots of figures we've already seen. Is anything new here? Okay, she looks like a priestess to me. Maybe a druid or something. Okay, a female warrior with 2 swords. The ears don't look elven, so I think it's just a regular chick. Sorry if that sounded chauvinistic, I don't mean anything by it. Now let's see if there's anybody we haven't seen. I'm finding lots and lots. Oh, here we go. And here's a human warrior with a sword. And this is reminding me a lot of the kind of groups of questing heroes that you would get in the old board games like Dungeon Strike. I think that's the name of the one. Dark World. Maybe even Hero Quest. But it looks like we've got lots of this elf archer. Yeah, several multiples of everybody. Now, some of these you could make a nice squad. Like, I don't mind having a bunch of elf archers. You could have a whole squadron of them. The little sorceress chicks don't really look like they would be good squad figures. Okay, I think that might be all of the individual pieces, but it looks like we've got at least half a dozen of each one. Okay, then way down at the bottom, a few more odd bits of terrain, very tiny. Let's see what we have. Okay, candlesticks. Now that's kind of odd because everything else is outdoor type stuff. This is, but you know, if you play Hero Quest, if you still have one of those old board games or something, you could paint those up and use them. I probably will not. And a tombstone, that'll be easy to make look good. A little dry brushing on it. So, okay, those are the contents. And yeah, it looks like we've seen all the different sculpts. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 different sculpts. Not bad. I kind of hoped for greater variety. But I tell you, one thing I'm really impressed with is that there's a good bit of detail in some of these. One of the difficulties, I've painted like plastic cowboy and Indians and things like that just for practice, and typically the lines are not very deep. That's one of the challenges. Usually you don't get good detail because they're produced very cheaply, and the plastic is very soft. The plastic is pretty firm. It's still, you know, fairly bendable, but it's more solid, more brittle, what you would get out of Cowboys and Indians, but I'm really impressed with the detail. And so I think that these guys are going to be pretty good candidates to make a large-scale Song of Blades and Heroes warband, so I'm going to take this on as a project. I'll paint up some of the good guys and some of the bad guys and work on the terrain, and we'll see what I come up with. Alright, and here are our finished products. Very pleased with the way the walls came out. I think they look fantastic. Just spray painted them black primer. and then brushed on increasingly light coats of gray, and for the ground brushed on a little bit of brown and a little bit of green. Could always glue on some flocking if I wanted to, but not bad the way they are. The tree looks okay. It's still plasticky, but it's a little bit better. It's also not particularly stable. The weight is, leaning a little more to this side, so I'll probably come up with some kind of base for that just to make it a little bit sturdier. The bridge, I really didn't do much to that. All I did was dry brush some gray onto the sides where it was black, because I think the rest of this looks pretty good. So it's nice, although I don't know how useful it is for these because they aren't really made to stand on that curve. But for smaller miniatures with a sturdy base, I think they'll work. Now for the miniatures themselves, this one looks okay. Not thrilled with the way she came out, maybe with a little more time and effort, but just something about it I'm not satisfied with. And also, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, they seem to have outfitted her the way the worst stereotypes of female fantasy warriors are outfitted. This guy looks okay. Because I like Heroscape, I went with skin color that they use with their Grutt Orcs. This one, I was kind of going for a Polgara the Sorceress look, if you read the David Eddings fantasy novels, although I don't know why she needed a bare midriff. The warrior, he came out alright. Really reminds me of the warriors from like Hero Quest and Dragon Strike, Dark World, games like that. This guy looks alright. And the elf is cool. I went with some oranges, orange shaded brown and green and bronze on him, and I might mix it up with some of the others. I'll probably make a squad of these guys and paint them all just a little bit differently so they sort of go together, but they're distinct. So overall, I still have a ton more of these guys left. I think I'll do more elves for sure and more of the orcs. Some of these I don't really want more than one, but overall, neat. Some cool terrain, and all for $9.99. So if you're into the larger size miniatures for gameplay or for collecting and painting, I'd give it a